So how do we tackle escalating terror threats from far-right activists across the world? Well, let's talk to international security and risk consultant Olivier Guitta. Good to see you this morning.
Thank you.
I mean, one thing Siobhan was talking about there, and we're very aware of, is how this was unprecedented in New Zealand and how it took everyone absolutely by surprise. I mean, in terms of that sort of attack, is there anything that can be done?
Well, what was really surprising, as you mentioned, was the location. I mean, New Zealand is considered the Switzerland, if you will, of Oceania. But also the fact that the terrorist was not on any terror watch list, which is extremely surprising when you see what has happened throughout Europe in that wave of terrorism that we had in the past few years, where most of the perpetrators were, one way or another, on a watch list.
Is there a sense then with this, and because we know we'd put quite a lot of stuff online, has there been a lack of focus, if you put it in those terms, on the far right, on white supremacy?
No, I think it's a lack of means, unfortunately. If you look at the different terror watch lists in Europe, whether in the UK or France, they have about 20,000 people on those lists. And they can basically monitor a few hundred, so they have to make choices. So he wasn't obviously pointing out at being possibly violent, but even if he was, the likelihood of him being monitored by security services at that precise time was very slim. And you have to remember, for what we've seen in far-right terrorism, they're not part of a cell usually. They're much more lone wolves. It's not like Islamic State or Al-Qaeda that you can infiltrate and you can follow them on Telegram. Those guys are really loose cannons, if you will.
Are we seeing a real rise in far-right extremism, far-right terrorism, or is it that we're simply identifying it as such now?
No, obviously, because of what happened in terms of terrorism from jihadists in the past few years, the far right has gained a lot more traction in saying, look, we're being invaded, they're attacking us, they're attacking our values. And in a way, those two sides are feeding off each other in terms of hatred. And that's what's extremely dangerous, that wedge that they want to drive in our societies.
So as a consultant in this area, then, how do you advise people to try to prevent them feeding off each other? I mean, the last thing you want here is some form of retaliation from a jihadist group.
Yes, unfortunately, what we've seen is the narrative that jihadists are using is exactly what happened yesterday, and we could see this climbing up. But we need to build on both sides, moderate influencers, if you will, that will take on the charge. But the social media aspect and the implication and the responsibility of companies like Facebook is not to be forgotten.
But what really can be done about that? Because, you know, Facebook did try their attempts to bring the material down. But once it is shared and it's out there, you know, the genie's out of the bottle. And many people actually saw images that they really were trying to avoid yesterday. Right.
But as I understand, this extremist had extremist material on his Facebook page for the past 2 years. His account should have been taken down in the past 2 years, and it wasn't.
Yeah. But talking about, as far as that would go, then you are talking about presumably either a huge level of personal monitoring or pretty complex algorithms to pick this stuff up. I mean, is any of that in place?
No, it's still human beings. They cannot use the algorithm to just take down someone. But the problem is a company like Facebook, who is making billions of dollars of profits, not paying taxes in our countries, does not have enough moderators. They should spend billions of their profits to basically make us secure and safe.
OK. On that point, Olivier, we must leave it. Thank you. Good to talk to you.
Thank you.